Flanagan from B4B there. Tommy, hello, a very good morning. It is a good morning. It is still morning. Still morning. That's good. And Will, yes. A very good morning also. So guys, I will just hand it over to you. And just one thing I would say to everybody listening in, if you do have a question, we're going to put some of those questions to both Will and Tommy immediately after this short presentation. So if you have something, throw it in there, and we'll do a little Q&A with Tommy and Will after this if you find anything interesting, which I'm sure you will. So Tommy and Will, it is over to you.
Thanks very much, Thomas. I'm just going to put this presentation, hopefully. Yeah, so thanks, I suppose, first off for S3 and the team, Patricia, Simon, and Eamon for inviting us here today to chat on the event. And I have to say, over the first hour, I've certainly learned more and been taking notes frantically from everyone to all the new terms and the things like digital delivery, digital capacity, technology poverty, all probably terms that us as a technology provider maybe hadn't thought about. We maybe purely focused on the technology side. So I'll run through sort of quickly here, and then we'll bring in Will from LogmeIn and GoToWebinar, who's providing the technology and the platform that we're using here today. So B4B Group formed in 2010. I myself, I'm a co-founder. I've been in the business from the start. We've 50+ staff. We've customers across NI, GB, ROI. So the group's been going quite a while, and a number of facets within the group, within our telecoms, our networks. So obviously broadband's been a discussion around access to broadband and those kind of things, which is we're actually heavily involved in. One of our sister companies, Fibrous, is heavily involved in that world as well. So some of the partners accreditations and the companies that we work with, like Microsoft, Vodafone, O2, Samsung. I know tablets were mentioned, Aruba, and the likes of the Wi-Fi front. I suppose what has changed? What has changed? And I suppose the answer is everything. People are now working from home and likely will continue to work from home and continue to adopt a hybrid working approach, probably post restrictions. Service users, beneficiaries, stakeholders, those are now accepting and have adopted to online video, whereas February, January time of this year, if somebody says, can I have a video meeting with you? They just maybe say, what are you talking about? But that whole acceptance of digital delivery has now become a massive thing, and it's an opportunity for groups and organizations to adopt the ways they work. And obviously there's other challenges that we've spoke of this morning around what digital delivery doesn't give you, but certainly it does, from our perspective, open up large opportunities. Large gatherings, face-to-face meetings, and normal organization practices, they're going to be changed, I would say, forever. Large gatherings just can't happen. So if you had conferences, you had AGMs, those kind of things, you just can't have them. Face-to-face meetings, yes, they can happen in a certain way, but the volume or the amount of them maybe may not be able to happen. So this is where the digital stuff starts to come in. And as I said, normal ways of working, delivering services, how people interact with your organization will need to adapt to these changes, and technology, in our belief certainly, and certainly I've heard no different this morning, will no doubt be the enabler for these changes. But with every change, it brings opportunity. Whereas maybe very localized organizations can now reach new beneficiaries, new audiences, users, groups, with access to these remote working, remote delivery technologies. We now work with staff, volunteers, board members, and expertise, maybe far beyond the reach of what you normally would have. You can access new expertise, bring in training from further afield, delivered digitally. All of these things maybe are new ways of thought-provoking for organizations maybe to adopt on how they work. I think for forward-thinking organizations and groups, there's an opportunity to be ahead of the curve, create new services, new ideas, what opportunities, what challenges have come up, and there's been certainly a lot of challenges that come in over the questions. What can digital delivery provide? What could you provide now that you couldn't provide before? Is there new programs? Is there obviously ever-changing demands? And that's how, I suppose, our organisation, with the likes of S3 and the funders, can support groups to make those changes, and maybe something that seems impossible, maybe something that we're doing for another group, another business, another organisation, we can take and adopt that technology to meet the needs of a new program or delivery method. Extensions of current business models, focusing on the use of technology. Again, it's just using the same theme. It's all around how you can use the digital technologies to further enhance, change, grow, or move with the times and the changing that they are. What I suppose the term digital transformation, I think, was used this morning as well. So that's kind of what I wanted to sort of move on to. So digital transformation is the process of using digital technologies to create new or modify existing processes, culture. So it's just, that's the dictionary definition. But breaking that down, it's basically moving from a bricks and mortar style, maybe organization, face-to-face meetings and gatherings, now moving that to online, digital, and maybe app-based or whatever that may be. But it's not something you can just, I believe, lift off the shelf and just say, we're now digital. The reason it's called transformation is you're moving from somewhere to somewhere new, that you have to, I suppose, get the building blocks in place, get the foundations in place. And I think definitely organizations, first off, before they think about delivering to the outside of the organization, it's what do they have, I suppose, inside their organization that is in place. So IT systems, does your organization have the IT systems in place to deliver this? So this all happened very fast. We had to move from the office back to our homes almost overnight, so probably didn't have time to plan and think. So using things like Office 365, Teams, SharePoint, Dropbox Business, from an email and document storage perspective, it may be something you've done, maybe something you were thinking about, or maybe something that wasn't on your radar. But that, for me, is the fundamental starting point: getting your IT systems in place that allow you to be a digitally transformed organization. There's other challenges come with that, with around data. So if people are now working from home, they're working remotely, what happens to that data? Is that data secure? So obviously, if it's in your office environment, it's a very fixed environment. You have your firewalls in place, you have all your security and your policies in place, but all of a sudden you've moved from maybe one office to 30 offices being people's homes. And it's making sure that if you're an organization that potentially has sensitive data, obviously the whole GDPR piece as well has come in over time. It's what thoughts have you given to the security of that? The other piece that was mentioned this morning was around the home Wi-Fi. So if somebody lives in a poor location for broadband, or their Wi-Fi is not great, how can you help that person to be able to, I suppose, work effectively from home? Which is going to be important. We've now through a period where, I suppose, we've been accepting potentially of poor internet, or the kid jumping across the back of us, or Peppa Pig slowing down the video call. But if we're going to move to a serious remote working, hybrid working world, those kind of things have to be fixed. Customers, organizations, beneficiaries are going to expect a professional delivery of their services digitally. So we have to be thinking about those, and voice as well. So we'll go on to some of the solutions that LogmeIn have around GoTo. So how do you ensure your calls are being answered as effectively as they would have been when you're in the office? So things like analytics around staff, things like cloud phones, soft phones, all of these things are very possible, and something that we can obviously support organizations with. Hybrid working is going to be a term I think we're going to hear a lot of. We heard the 2-day, 3-day school thing, so that may change how we work. So is your organization IT ready? And again, B4B can support organizations with advice and support and training on the options, I suppose, best practice, which is important. And then the customer facing considerations, once you have all those in place, and the likes of the platform we're using today and the GoToWebinar, that allows large scale delivery of messages, video, There's also GoTo Training, which is another adaptation of the same platform, which allows for training. So video meetings, is Zoom the best option always? Zoom being the new, is it secure? Is it the right platform at all times? And again, these are things that we will, suppose, support groups, organizations to discuss and to come to the answers with. Communications, so large scale messages and webinars and whatnot. And most groups will have maybe specific challenges, unique challenges and requirements that cannot be met maybe with off-the-shelf solutions. So B4B, as we've shown, our network of partners and our expertise and in this group, in this world of technology, can support organizations with bespoke or design or bringing together technologies to meet the customer needs and demands that they have. I just wanted to touch very quickly on something that's actually happening just right at the moment. We were approached by the Royal Portrush Golf Club. They've got their AGM coming up. Obviously, they can't have the large gathering. So what we've actually provided the golf club is a managed webinar solution. So it's fully set up, hosted event produced by our in-house team, and allows them to do the AGM as a professional AGM and deliver it on the same way we're delivering this today, as well as do their voting, the anonymous voting, and all the challenges that they have. That's a great example of adopting a professional approach, which I think is key to the new ways of operating an organization with the use of technology. I guess this is probably where we can sort of reach out to ourselves. So we can provide a sort of free digital transformation consultation. We can come in, the guys will come in and sit down with you and sort of understand what IT systems you have or are thinking about, software, phone systems, Wi-Fi, all of the things that are a requirement for your group or organization to sort of make that change. And B4B will provide each organization with a detailed digital transformation roadmap, and I suppose showing what the possible is the key. And that's all for myself here this morning. Again, thanks for the guys for having us on. It's been a great platform. I've learned so much myself around the challenges that are faced by organizations, and I suppose hopefully ourselves with the guys in S3 can help some groups, organizations make the transition into digital that bit easier. So I'm going to bring on Will, introduce Will from LogmeIn. LogmeIn is a partner of ours that we've worked with over a number of years to deliver the likes of this solution. We've done stuff for the domiciliary care business. We've done our bit over the last few months to try as much as possible to help organizations through this period. So you there, Will?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks very much, Tommy, for the introduction, and great presentations. Thanks very much, and everyone speaking before. So everyone that's joined today, thanks very much. You know, I know it's holiday season and things are manic, but you know, seeing some of the questions come through shows, you know, it's been a very interactive event, so that's great. As there have been a few mentions, this is on GoToWebinar, which is owned by LogmeIn, who I work for. So before I start my presentation, I'd love to do a poll. So anyone that isn't listening, it's time to listen because you're going to have to do something. So what I would love to see is how people see their ideal working environment. So what I'm going to do first is just launch a poll. So you should be able to see now on your screen the options. So if people can start choosing, how do you see the ideal working environment? Do you see it fully remote? Do you really enjoy being able to work remotely? Fully in the office, or flexible work and split between office and home? And I can give a bit of stats to that as well. Just to encourage everyone, if as many people can vote on this, that'd be great. I'm seeing 61% voted now, and the stats are quite interesting so far. Right, very good. We're about up around 90% now. Anyone else that hasn't voted, just pop that in if you can. How do you see the ideal working environment? Okay, so just this, sorry, Tommy, we just go back onto the LogmeIn slide, if that's okay. So what I do is I'm just going to share those stats here now. So as you can see, they're very much how I thought they would be. 2% fully office base is about right. You must have loads of kids at home if you want to be fully in the office 5 days a week. Fully remote, that sounds about right. And 90% flexible work and split between office and home. We did a survey recently in LogmeIn, and they were very similar stats that we saw in our business of around 5,000 employees. We saw around 86% opting for a flexible working, which is very interesting because before this happened, it would have been a flip. You know, the majority of businesses that would have fully been office based, you know, would be probably around 50%, 50-60%. Whereas now there's that big drive there now to have, you know, have a flexible working. So Tommy, just mind making that full screen if that's okay. So everyone, thanks very much for voting on the poll there. So what I wanted to say just very quickly is, there's a few questions there about, you know, the frustration of, you know, video conferencing tools and using Zoom and broadband, and, you know, it's not a replacement for FaceTime. And I'd very much like to openly say there that there's nothing beats FaceTime, meets people one-to-one, but in the climate that we're in, that's not always possible. You know, as Tommy was mentioning there with the open with rural pot rush, it's too dangerous to have 180 people in the same room. So what we're offering in LogmeIn isn't a full replacement for FaceTime, but it's the best in class platform, you know, for enabling remote working. Just give me 1 second. So on this, 1 second. Just going to press keyboard and mouse control there. That's all right, Tommy. So in LogmeIn, so we're a global-based business. Head office in EMEA is in Dublin. I operate from the Dublin office. Must stay here. 25 office locations is incorrect. We've about 4,500 offices at the moment because everyone is working remotely. Just go to the next slide if that's all right, Tommy. So in the last few months, this was done probably in around January this year. So things have really, you know, accelerated since there, and there's been such a drive in companies going remote. And I tell you, with workplace, that was remaining before COVID, and we really saw the changes in place in around 2025, 2030, not the way it has been. But there's a couple of things to really bear in mind, that when you have people working remotely or doing flexible working, security is so important. And there's been news reports after news reports of hackings and scams. So you've got to really look at providers that prioritize on security and AI technology. So the key thing is, when you're looking at remote-based solutions to enable you to be flexible working, is have a solution that works for you in your business. So what I'm doing today is introducing GoTo. So GoToWebinar is what we're using today. So we have a communications platform that enables you to do everything internally with your staff and externally with your customers. So we provide audio conferencing, video conferencing like we're using today with GoToMeet and GoToWebinar, training and business phone systems as well. So this is the GoTo Portfolio, so GoToWebinar. Just for anyone that's interested in the GoTo Portfolio, we are offering a 2-week free trial on our software. So if that's of interest, please feel free to reach out to the guys in S3 and B4B, and they'll be able to organize that for you. So in terms of internal collaboration, that generally would be our GoTo meeting platform, you know, video conferencing replacement for Zoom, very secure, and that also provides an integration into Microsoft Teams as well. So you can use it for committee meetings, internal messaging. A big leading product of ours is GoTo Room. So there's a lot of comments regarding FaceTime. So we know that FaceTime isn't replaced, but you can, with video, with platforms like this today, they're the best in class, and you know, it's the best way of having interactive meetings. So what GoTo Room is a dedicated video conferencing unit that would sit in your huddle room or your meeting room, and we've arranged solutions with Dolby Polycom and Logitech, that allows you, when you're doing remote meetings, to make them interactive. So you can share whiteboards, screens, and have really intelligent 4K cameras. So when you are doing remote meetings, it is very interactive, and that can also be used in webinars as well. So the whole thing with the communications offering that we have with GoTo is to enable you to communicate effectively internally and externally, and we have our GoTo Connect platform as well. Just want to move on there, Tommy, if that's okay. So we say internally and externally, we've got the right platform there for you. So GoToWebinar, which is what we're using today. So we use that internally, and you can also use externally and using for today. And that's generally used by marketing teams as well. GoToMeeting, internally and externally, using high definition video quality. GoToRoom is our dedicated video conferencing platform that I was using. Interestingly enough, we're the only provider that enables you to use that video kit on GoToMeeting, BlueJeans, Microsoft Teams, Cisco WebEx. So what that means is that would sit in your boardroom, that would sit on top of your TV screen, and enables you to have interactive online meetings. And it gives you a dedicated meeting space. In LogmeIn, we've quite a few of these, and the way we see working is, instead of having a lot of meetings in boardrooms this year, that really isn't possible, is we're using this technology as much as we can, because we still have interactive online meetings, and it's the next best thing to have in FaceTime. So GoTo Connect, leading that on. So with GoTo Connect, which may be of interest to everyone in the audience, is it includes GoToMeeting. So every single user who opts for GoTo Connect gets a GoToMeeting license. So if people are working from home, they can take their phone system home with them. If you're in Australia, you can make calls as if you're calling from your Belfast office. And it's all in one application. So if you want analytics on people work from home, this will provide this. You can do internal calls, external transfers, and it gives you over 200 features. And it's very commercially viable. It's one price per month, so it's a flat predictive pricing. It's not an up and down price. And this really works for companies from, say, 1 to 10,000. So it's not a fully enterprise grade product, but it works for SMEs, medium businesses, and enterprise. And we're able to provide a full demonstration of this platform. So this enables companies to not have on-premise based phone system. So it's fully cloud-based, which means that you can work anywhere in the world. Our motto in LogmeIn is work anywhere, wherever, whenever, and however, but securely. So our solutions, GoTo Connect, GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting, are fully secure. So as I said, it's all about staying productive when you're inside and outside of the office, but also being secure. We see the most important thing when you're choosing a provider is to choose a provider based on reliability. During the last few months, there's been a lot of news regarding platforms going down, scams. With GoTo, there hasn't been one incident of that, and the reason we have that is the amount of capital that we invest in our platform. In the last few months, we've invested over 500 million in our platform to make it the best in class platform that it possibly can. So we've about 28 million users around the globe using GoTo, and 80 million meetings happening every year. I must say, during the last 4 months, there's been more webinars than there has ever been. And it's great to see webinars like today and really interactive meetings, because obviously we're all mostly remote. Being able to interact is so important. And I think that's really it from my perspective on GoTo. I hope that made sense for everyone in the audience. You know, it was a very high level overview. But if anyone's interested in finding out more about GoTo and how it may sit within your business, webinars, meetings, training, myself and my team and B4B are more than happy to help.
Brilliant, guys. Thank you very much indeed. Listen, really informative. Just going to jump into some of the key questions. There's one specifically for you, Will. Not sure if it's a key question, but I'll go with it anyway. Are you a Star Wars fan? And I see R2 and CP3O, C3PO.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of the day.
That was a very, very important question. So I'm glad that customer's going to sign up for GoTo Connect after this webinar. No, I am a Star Wars fan, also BB-8 as well. So I know it's a bit sad, but I'm at home. It's all good.
Nice bit of space. Listen, let me jump into it. both of you, Tommy and Will, have explained those things in great detail. Sound brilliant, but one of the key questions has come in. Broadband, particularly in rural areas, and it's all nice to have these incredible facilities at our fingertips. What is being done in that scenario, and how will that impact the services that you guys are providing? If I can come to you first, Tommy, about that. Just, I mean, that is a big challenge.
As sort of mentioned, so one of our big things is that we're a broadband provider, and we've built out our own broadband networks for the last number of years. And our sister company is heavily involved in that, Fibrous, and there's a procurement ongoing at the moment as part of it's called Project Stratum, which is part of the sort of the deal around the DUP backing the Tories and at the time. So there's 165 million pounds to deliver more broadband into more rural areas, but that's not the here and now. So there's technologies that have developed over the short term, where 4G, as an example, is becoming more and more of a viable product that people can adopt. So we're installing in some rural locations sort of high gain aerials to draw in the 4G signal where your phone mightn't have 4G, but putting up an aerial. So there is solutions out there. There's ways and means, and some of the takeaways I have from today is around cost efficient, how the community can access the services. So there's probably other thoughts that need to be had around the community centres providing access to the services, maybe at a central location securely. So there's more challenges to be thought about, Thomas, how this digital solutions can be delivered to meet everyone's needs. But I think there's a solution out there for everyone, or every eventuality that we have to try and find.
And I suppose with so many of the opportunities relying on broadband and relying on internet access, Tommy, that I suppose people will know this morning if their broadband is good enough or not good enough. But I suppose with the increase in the pool that you brought up there, Will, with the potential of working from home, whatever guise that takes, I suppose the key question is, okay, if my internet isn't absolutely brilliant right now, but it's going to be up to scratch at a particular point, then that allows people to plan in the future. Okay, in 2 or 3 years' time, or 3 or 4 years' time, or whatever that date may be, then it helps the planning process, Tom, I suppose. Is there an end game where everybody's going to be brought up to scratch? Forgive the expression.
Hopefully. There's always going to be the hard to reach, the very, very hard to reach locations. But certainly with this latest Project Stratum funding, that should go a long way to bridging that gap in the rural locations. So it's only designed for the rural locations. And then with 4G and fixed wireless, there's options out there. There's more options out there now than there ever was. Will it help everybody? I'm not sure, but it's definitely getting a lot better, and there's more options there for people.
I like asking you all the easy questions, Tommy, you see. Yeah. Well, if I can just come on to you, and one of the questions that has come in, have things changed forever, and is that necessarily a good thing? And I suppose that's in reference to working from home. The poll that you put up there, yes, it has its advantages, and everyone's at the minute talking about the brilliance of working from home, Zoom, Teams, GoToWebinar, all these different aspects that we have, but we're losing that face-to-face touch.
Yeah, I think there's no going back, not even just from work. I think in personal lives and everything. And I think with anything, there's good and bad. And I think, like, I can only speak for myself, but there's been some benefits, from working from home. I was traveling 3 hours a day. That time's gone. That gives me more time to spend with family and exercising. But I think in relation to work, it can't go back to the way it was, because technology is there to support companies. We're not here as a company just to make millions and millions. It's there to support them. There's been a lot of good work that we've done with the NHS and HSE, and named a few over the last few months, that really has been able to help. For example, people having to do COVID tests and having to be able to do that on video. So it has really helped, in the last few months. And I think, as I said at the start, it never is a replacement for FaceTime, but as per that poll, that flexible working is exactly where we see the market going. So there's no going back. You you can't go back for the last few months. It's been a huge change for everyone. It's been really hard for people, but I think what you can do is move forward as collectively, you know, and try and improve situations that we're in. And even go back to that broadband conversation, there's a huge government investment going in for broadband, you know, and I know particularly in Ireland, there's particular areas and enterprise centres being developed right now that enable people who might be based in Cork or Kerry but work for a company in Dublin to enable them to work closer to home and to move out, you know, of potential areas. The number of cranes in Dublin has definitely reduced over the last few months.
Yeah, it certainly has. Okay. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. I know that B4B Group are offering a free digital IT health check to attendees, and we'll follow that up with an email after this with a bit more information on that. And that there's also a 2-week trial period, I think, for GoTo, Will. Is that correct?
Yeah, for GoToMeet and GoToWebinar, GoToTrain and GoToConnect. So we're more than happy to provide a 2-week free trial period through B4B Group as our dedicated partner.
Brilliant. Listen, we're going to keep things rolling on. Will, Tommy, thank you very much indeed. You've been very helpful and very informative. Very much appreciated. So that's Will and Tommy, and their presentation finished. Thank you very much, folks.